I was born of Wilfred Dale Comstock. He went by Bill Comstock, and June Violet Ruffer. And Dad was from Nebraska, and Mom's parents actually came from Prussia. And they came over, they spoke German, and neither one of my grandparents, they both passed away on my mom's side before I was born. Dad taught me how to work. He was an amazing dad. And they taught me to believe in God. Mom taught me, I think, what a mother should be, what a wife should be. She gave me an incredible example that enabled me to search out somebody who possessed those similar characteristics of caring for her kids, her husband, and that family really mattered. Being a father has changed me. I think I had role models that that being a father was pretty much what I expected. It was really a wonderful experience in so many ways. I anticipated bumps in the road periodically, which certainly occurred. We have 3 children that are all definitely different. Our daughter was just a tremendous, very girly girl. Our son was all over the place. He was just a wild and crazy boy in a good way, on top of the piano and just always extremely energetic. And then we had a third son, Brady. Brady lived 10 days. When he was born, he weighed 1 pound 3 ounces. The smallest boy ever or child actually, in Cedar City to ever live for any period of time. But after 10 days, his lungs were so tissue thin that he just couldn't proceed in this life. Fortunately, we were able to bless him and give him a name. I served a mission in Indonesia and then came home. I'll talk a little bit more about what happened after that. But I came home and worked as a security guard for a while. Found that that wasn't really going to provide for me the way I needed to, so I took a job as a salesman for a uniform and supply company. At that point, I was working 6 days a week and decided that I needed to do something different to be sure I had more time with my family. Started a career in air traffic, went to Oklahoma City for some training, and ultimately came down here and opted to just work in flight service here in Cedar City for a while before I resigned from the FAA after 9 years and started my own company. We bought and sold mortgages, we lent money, and also started doing buying and selling, developed rental properties. Had some people come to me one year and had this idea for an app that you could image headstones, and it would log the GPS location. So they were looking for some money to invest in that, and long story short, this company, I became the primary investor and the CEO of a company called Billion Graves. During my tenure, as I led that, we were able to image over 30 million headstones in 65 countries and 26 languages. We shared those with the church for genealogical purposes, and I felt really good about that. It was a very challenging time as we tried to grow that company, and then a few years ago I sold that company. My mom was Seventh-day Adventist, and my dad was Baptist. So in our early years, we went to the Seventh-day Adventist church, and very positive experience. And I started growing older, then we went to the Baptist church. And then towards my teenage years, my dad built a cabin on the lake, so we pretty much went to the church of water skiing and snow skiing, which I loved. It was a great church and enjoyed it completely. And then when, during those teenage years, I met Jolene, who's my wife. As you maybe learned, I'm kind of independent. And one day, I decided to, when I was in high school, pick Jolene up from junior high, and we went to a neighboring city and just test drove cars. We took the day off from school. Probably not a good idea. But her dad found out. Now, her dad was quite a prominent farmer, wonderful man, learned to be a great friend. He didn't like me so much at the time. Anyhow, we came home and we thought everything was good. Well, come to find out, her mom and dad had found out that we'd skipped school. I don't know if the school called or what had happened. So when I got home, Jolene's dad came to our home with his attorney to our home. My mom and dad were there, and Jolene was there at my mom and dad's house, and they came in. And this was the most influential attorney in Ephrata, Washington. I mean, he was, the real deal. And Nels Hansen was his name, and he looked at me and he says, "Now, Tom, we need you to know that if you continue to interact with Jolene, we will file charges for you contributing to the delinquency of a minor." Well, I was a minor. It was a bluff tactic, but it was a very influential tactic, And mom and dad said, "We'd really, Tom, it's probably time that maybe you just took a break here, So at that point, D, my future father-in-law, looked over at me and kind of leaned forward a little bit. Now, D was a bishop, wonderful, loving father and everything. But he looked at me and he said, "Tom, I want you to know, if this was a different day and age, and I was a different man, I would hire somebody to kill you." I went to church because of Jolene, but then I realized there was something more to it. Long story short, and through some prayer and some other things that happened. Served a wonderful mission in Indonesia. 80% Muslim, 10% Hindu Buddhist, and 10% Christian. I've just been very blessed in serving in many capacities within the church, and now serving in the temple and teaching the gospel doctrine class. In 2008, when things were not well in the world, I had a heart attack. And my sweet wife identified the symptoms and transported me to the hospital, even though it was close to midnight. We were in California watching our daughter, who was on bed rest with a high-risk pregnancy. And somehow, miraculously, there were two cardiologists on duty. And they were able to put a couple stents in and bring me back. And then subsequent to that, while I was in the hospital, while Jolene was sitting in the corner, I passed out, pretty much flatlined. The code blew. Things apparently went off, and they came in, and Jolene knows more about this because she was awake. I wasn't so much. And But I remember there was a bunch of people around, and there was a nurse that was saying, "Tom, we need you back. We need you back." And I remember hearing that voice, and it was my name. It wasn't my new name. It was my name, my earthly name. And so somehow I came back. After that, I think my whole perspective on, I was a workaholic, on what's really important kind of changed. One of the things I wish I've learned earlier and continue to try to understand is people, and why their minds and their choices are what they are. Still trying. So if any of you can help me, I'm ready. Light, love, and bringing a smile to somebody's face. That's how I'd like to be remembered. More than you probably have time to hear. I am interested in everything. There's hardly a thing that I am not interested in, but I have some hobbies that I really enjoy. I've always loved cars. I'm restoring a car right now, a 1970 Dodge Super Bee that is in the process. I I love to, as flying, I have a racing simulator too, that I race against other people around the world in a simulator. And then I have a little go-kart track that out at my shop that I love for myself and grandkids and friends and family. I like Chinese food. There's hardly a food I don't like there. So, I have so many fond memories. I love being home. Um, I loved Egypt. I traveled to Egypt and just was fascinated by the efforts people put into trying to memorialize somebody's life. One of my favorite books is called The Power of Moments, and it shares the importance of making a moment. I also like a book called The Same as Ever, and it presents some interesting principles about human natures that were the same throughout thousands of years. Our circumstances might change, but human nature is similar. Matthew 7:7. 7, of course, is from a theological perspective, means completion. And it in that scripture, ask and it shall be opened unto you. Seek and ye shall find. And finally, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Oh, how lovely was the morning.
I was instantly comfortable around him. It was like from the very first time that I talked to him, which was on the phone, I think, he was easy to talk to. But not only that, I think that we were also comfortable being even quiet, not talking, which, sometimes that's awkward. But I felt like he was just an instantly comfortable person for me. He by nature really wants to make people happy, and I've been listening in the other room while you were interviewing him, and he will seek people out to make them happy, to try to make them happy, and he strives to build people up, and he's genuine when he if you get a compliment from Tom, he means it. It's not, he's not just, you know, being fluffy. He genuinely means what he says about people, and he wants people to be happy, and he wants to build them up. And something that you might not know about him is what a great husband he is. He's always taken really good care of me. He's my best friend, and he frequently brings me home flowers. Like, this happens probably every 3 or 4 weeks, and it's just random. He's also not afraid to vacuum or do dishes or throw a load of laundry in. And I mean, I guess what more could a girl ask for? He's been a great husband.